bubbly and beautiful host, Elizabeth. It's the Caffeinated Cooper Show.
Yeah, I believe in you. I don't believe in lucky sevens. I'm not sure about Loch Ness, but I know I believe in angels. I believe in happiness.
Hello, 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 everyone out there. Thank you and welcome to the show. This is the Caffeinated Cooper Show. We are currently live on Facebook as well as YouTube. Make sure that you go over to the Caffeinated Cooper Show channel on YouTube, ring that bell, make sure that you subscribe, and then you'll never miss a show. They finally got their act together over at YouTube, and I am so thankful because it has been almost a year since it would dual cast on both medias, and it's just so nice because I do have a lot of people over there on YouTube, and I just love each and every one of you, no matter where you come from, that watches, comments, get into it. This is the news with J.C. Schweingruber of Vista Front Partners. How are you this evening?
Hey, I'm great. How was your Thanksgiving? I guess we haven't done a show since then.
That's right. It's been about 2 weeks, I want to say. Thanksgiving was nice. So my sister-in-law cooked and I cooked, and we brought a turkey to my mother and father's house, and they're in Western North Carolina, and the plan was to fry the turkey in the driveway, right? Now, I had assumed that some of my family members had done that before, and they hadn't. So all of a sudden, we all get on the phone like the night before, and they're like, well, who has the fryer? Who has the oil? Does anybody have the pot for the fryer? How do we put the turkey in? Are we supposed to brine it? What are we supposed to do? And I'm like, guys, all I know is that it needs to be room temperature. It needs to be thawed. And I don't know, but it came out so nice and juicy. It was great. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was really good. Got together with about 30 other people, maybe a little bit more. Had 6 dogs and a cat there as well. So it was good times.
Do all the dogs get along?
Good time. They all got along. And I'm allergic to cats and dogs, but they all seem to like me too. So I had my fill of cats and dogs and allergy medicine afterwards. It was great. It was a good time. I loved all. I swear I love all the people, but like, you know, I love the dogs, man. I'm telling you, I kind of go to see the dogs. And me and my old pal Cooper, you know, no relation to you guys, obviously.
Yeah, no. Haven't met Cooper yet.
But Cooper.
So I got to ask you something. Our weather has changed here, and I'm sure it has for you because you're in Virginia. I'm in Atlanta, so you get much colder than we do most of the time. But we had, you know, that cold snap. It's here, and it's that weather that you just want to like curl up with a blanket, some popcorn, and watch your favorite holiday film. Which one, like, what would be the top 3? What are your go-to top 3 holiday films?
Christmas films. You know, there's so many of them that are out, and it's kind of hard to pick a lot of them. But I know this is kind of not very popular, but Die Hard. Is it a Christmas film? Is it not a Christmas film? We joked around about that, but I haven't watched that movie in so long that this year I'm thinking maybe I might watch it again. But I always love Christmas Vacation. That's kind of a standard go-to. Yeah, just the part. Yeah. The cat gets fried. The squirrel jumps out of the tree. The turkey just explodes into a ball of nothing but like hot air and dust and bones. Like it's, I don't know, a pretty funny movie. So that's one of my go-tos. That and of course Ralphie and A Christmas Story. I know people got so tired of it because it goes on like 48-hour rotation, but I don't sit and watch them. Like, I don't watch them every year, so it's been several years. So that's a go-to as well. And not for nothing, but the Santa Claus. I always thought that was quite fun. With I can't remember the actor's name now, but
Tim Allen.
Yeah, Tim Allen.
Mm-hmm.
The second one was pretty good, but but the first one is kind of a classic to me. And here's an old one for you: White Christmas, Bing Crosby.
Oh, that is an old one. Now I have the record. I've never seen the movie.
You can find it on any streaming. It's really funny. It's a couple of friends that get out of the military after the war, and of course they're showmen, all right? So they go on the road with their act, and they meet a couple of sisters who are also want to be a part of the act with them. And of course, they get booked for this show in Maine at Christmas, and it's going to be a white. They go there, and there's no snow. Like they're like, "What is going on?" It's like a warm day and no snow, and they're putting on an act of white. But it's a fun show. So if you've never seen it, it's truly one of the classics. You're not going to get risque anything in it, but it's a fun movie.
Oh, wow. I can't believe I've never seen that. The one with oh my goodness. It's an older film, and it's not A Christmas Carol. We've all seen A Christmas Carol. The actor has like this high-pitched nasally voice, very whiny. What film is this that I'm thinking of? You know it. Oh my God.
High-pitched nasally voice.
Yeah. Oh, it's a really popular film, and I just can't remember the name of it. But I agree with you. The Santa Claus, I think they did a really good job. And what else? A Christmas Story, that has been, all Gene Shepard's films have been big in my family. Everybody loved watching that, as along with Monty Python and all their films. Like that was our go-to growing up. And I got to give a shout out to Farmer and the Belle. It doesn't sound like a Christmas film, but it is. And one of my songs is on the soundtrack for the movie, so I do have to give a shout out to them. They're awesome.
What did you think of Bill Murray and Scrooged?
I like it. Bill Murray did a lot of really great films when he was younger, and I was a little bit too young. I could never see any of those, so I never really caught on to him that much. But yeah, he's a different kind of funny. As things and decades move forward, comedy changes, right?
Oh, very much.
Yeah, and he's, George Carlin, a different kind of funny. Gilbert Godfrey, a different kind of funny. And it's like, I was a little bit too young to catch on to him.
Yeah, that was kind of like a mainstream funny back then, but then today, like Elf with Will Ferrell.
Right.
That's funny, but in a very different way, but it's funny.
It is. It sort of threw back to more of that eclectic, not quite Monty Python, because there's not a lot of innuendos, insinuated, type thing. They kept it very, very clean in Elf, but it's out there. It's really eccentric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants to watch another classic comedy, It's a Wonderful Life. It's not a comedy, but It's a Wonderful Life.
That's
Great
it.
holiday. Oh, that's the one you're thinking of?
That's the one. I can't stand him. What is his name? What's his
name? Yeah, any other time I'd know it. I can't think of his name. He was in Westerns too, and I can't see this guy ever playing a role in a Western, but
right. I'm looking it up. So I found it. It's a Wonderful Life, rated PG, 1946, James Stewart.
Stewart, yes. It's I like that movie. Not a big fan of his, but the movie was good. And over the last month, I've seen 2 Christmas plays over the last 3 weeks. I saw Miracle on 34th Street, and then I saw I'll Be Home for Christmas. So that was that. I got to go to the Barter Theater and watch those. Those actors are amazing.
Did you have any family performing in the plays, or did you just spontaneously decide that I really would like to go see one?
No, I went with family to go see it, and every year, family members will get tickets as gifts for the theater. either 3 or 6 plays during the course of the year. And if they have extra tickets or whatever, one's not being used. So one wasn't being used for those two, so I went and had a great time both times. Good plays. It's good to be in a place where you kind of see people practicing their craft that they work so hard at doing, and they just nailed it. Even the child actors were doing great, and the singing was good. And on the one play that it was kind of half musical, half play, but it was a fun time. Enjoyed it. So it kind of got me in the Christmas spirit a little bit more than I was kind of coming into the season. But so I'll actually focus on putting a tree up this week.
Oh, that's
Finally.
cool. That's very cool. So I've got to ask you, because it just popped into my brain, and you know me well enough to know you never know what's about to come out of my mouth. But for the holiday season, if you on the spot had to make a widget, what is your widget? It could be a product, an app, a website. What would it be that you think would just take off?
Wow. That's a tough question. What do I think would take off? Self-tying tennis shoes, kind of like from Back to the Future Part 2 when he goes into the future. You step in them, they tie themselves. Sort of thing. That'd be kind of cool.
That would be awesome. Self-tying tennis shoes. That would help so many people out. Okay, so you're going to work on that. I think I have mine. santasonly.com. It's for the huggable guy to find a mate. Santa's Only.
Where are you? There you go. Santa's dating site for the jolly old guy.
Yeah. Easy.
Why not?
You can cook for him. He's never going to complain. He likes cookies, hot cocoa.
Yeah, you don't make dinner. Just leave cookies out. The guy's happy.
Yeah.
Come on. It's easy. That's a good idea. What about a hover car? Would you ever drive a hover car? If Tesla came out with a hover car, would you drive it?
I don't know. I mean, Tesla has the self-driving thing, and I am not a subscriber to that. So now we have what I call fondly every day in my car, freaking morons driving flying vehicles, driving a low-flying airplane. I don't know if I trust society yet.
I don't know if I trust the cars they have.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of Tesla, did you get a chance to see their, I guess, a commercial or a video clip that they put out from the, I guess they had a big gathering last week to show off the Cybertruck?
No.
All this was so at their big gathering of the people at Tesla, they had this video, and it was like the camera. Imagine the camera like right next to a Porsche 911. On the other side is the Cybertruck, and the camera paces them as they're racing down a drag strip. So the Cybertruck raced the Porsche 911 and actually beat it, and you could hear people like going, "Oh my, look, watch!" All this crowd cheering when the Cybertruck was pulling ahead. And you could hear Elon Musk over the background going, "Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it." And when the truck passed the finish line and beat the Porsche 911, the camera pulled back enough that you could see it had a trailer on the back of it and was hauling a Porsche 911 on the trailer.
Oh, of course. Of course. I had to see what this thing looks like. What in the world? So it's over here. Well, my logo's in the way. There's many pictures of it. This is the ugliest vehicle I've ever seen in my life.
It's like the Mars rover.
Yeah.
Trucks. Clever video though, but apparently the truck goes 0 to 60 in 2 seconds.
I believe it. I mean,
yeah.
I love my Tesla for going around town. I will not go on trips in it because I just don't have that kind of patience to stop and charge and then go for an hour and a half and stop and I cannot. But around town, it's fantastic because it's a freaking rocket ship. It goes so fast and I love it because I'm like, everybody's behind me and they just, the light turns green and I'm like 50 miles ahead of them. Love it. But when you take your foot off the accelerator, it slows down quickly, which is kind of nice because if you're in a 45 and you look down, go, oh, crap, I'm doing 60. You just take that foot off and in a second, you're down to 50. within 5 miles, good. It's great. It's like being invisible. I love it.
That's awesome. And everybody's always like, if you're driving a Tesla, everybody's always checking you out because they want to see that car. Because like I've seen a couple of them like around Cincinnati, Louisville, Lexington, but around where I live at, you'd never see anything like that here. But there's nowhere to charge, so yeah, like it's really just like a city dwelling and things like that. But yeah, fabulous cars. But I thought that was a crazy cool commercial or video for the truck.
That is total Elon Musk style.
Yeah,
You know.
and he news the past week. I don't know if you've heard the big GFY from
Oh yeah.
with Andrew Sorkin at Wall Street Journal. Well,
Yep.
so, business news. That's really been the news this week. Is the big GF. Other than that, the market's done well. So,
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. So you are with Vistafront Partners, and you're here to tell us a little bit about what the market has done, what you think the market may do going into the end of the year. Plus, we also have a couple other things to talk about too. So I haven't had breathing room to even be able to look and see what the market is doing right now, just because it's the hustle and bustle, sick kids, Christmas, blah, blah, blah. What happened in the market so far? Last week, because it's Monday.
yeah, well, we all remember kind of going back into the fall that the market went on about a 3-month slide, and it was just kind of like a lot of, we talked last time, a lot of malaise and just kind of frustration, how frustrating the market's been. But over the last like 4 weeks or so, the last month, the market has done just really well. A lot of earnings came in and kind of met expectations, earnings and revenues for the most part. Companies did start giving, I guess, a little bit more negative forward guidance. I'd rather like, give disappointing forward guidance and then beat it than to say, hey, we're going to do great and then to miss it. But so that may be part of what the plan is. But with the interest rates going up so much in such a short period of time over the last year, there's still talk of a possible recession, soft landing, hard landing, whatever it ends up being. But the last week or so, volatility has ratcheted down. You've seen, of course, going into the holidays, you have some last minute rush of people trading, trying to especially mutual funds that have not beaten an index. Most of them haven't this year, and I'll tell you why here in a minute. But they try to go in and make trades, move things around, and try to catch up last minute with some gains. And hopefully the market continues to have that Santa Claus rally, so then kind of, add a little bit, even though they're probably not going to beat the indexes. So that's really what's going on, and probably you never know from one day to the next about the market or any black swan event or anything going on with Israel and Hamas or anything that can happen to derail things. But things are, I guess, kind of cooling down, and we have that end of year period where people just kind of take care of end of the year business. Trading volumes drop. The market averages tend to, go up. That little Santa Claus rally that a lot of times people expect, and whether we get it or not, things look okay now.
Mm-hmm.
But last 5 weeks have been really great, and it really kind of helped a lot of investors that were frustrated with their strategy. If they stuck with their strategy, things have turned around and come back around and done better than expected. So that's been really good. I was going to say, one of the reasons a lot of fund managers haven't, it's kind of a weird year where if you've been really diversified, which you should do, you haven't beaten the S&P 500 because it's the top 7-8 companies in the S&P 500 that's drug the average up all year long. So if you own those, you did really well. So that's why the S&P average has done really well. If you look at something that's more broad-based, it's more like one of the Russell indexes, they've kind of been a little disappointing because a lot of mid caps and small caps are not up there with the top 8 companies, the Magnificent Seven, as they call them on TV now, the NVIDIAs and Netflixes and Apples and Microsofts of the world. And so that's been sort of a rare year where the index funds outperformed a lot of other things that should have been like a little more high octane. It should have outperformed, but still stick with your strategy because the market's cyclical. It will come back around, and at some point, these top 7 companies will sort of fall out of favor for a while, and other things will catch up. So it's just yeah, just one of those weird years. But it's been frustrating, like we talked about the last show.
Yeah.
This last couple of the most frustrating years since really 9/11. I've gotten the business back in '99, right before the tech bubble burst, and yeah, so it's just, but it is what it is. You kind of power through it, keep your strategy, keep your patience, and yeah, things have come along well here in the last few weeks.
So as far as consumables, things that people have to buy generally on the daily, how is that being reflected in the market? Is it showing a slowdown in retail, a slowdown? I'm not too sure exactly how you can see the health of that, but that's generally my question: is what is the consumables looking like?
Consumers are still spending, and you kind of it makes a lot of us wonder, where do they still have this money? I mean, people saved a lot of money during the pandemic, but the last 2 years they've been spending a lot of money, and like at some point that money runs out. But also credit card balances are going up now, so we're seeing that they're spending more on credit. I think one of the things, when you see companies that are beating on earnings and revenue, and they're talking about the profitability of these companies, keep in mind that with inflation, as long as the inflation that's passed along to the consumer is higher than the inflation that's passed along to the producer, they could sell exactly the same amount of goods as they did last year, nothing more. And in any other year, that'd be considered a failure. They want to grow, but they haven't grown in sales. But their sales numbers have gone up because prices have gone up. So they're making a little bit more. So you have to consider that with some, especially some retail, I think, that we've seen with like clothing and, every day, like you haven't seen people buy as many clothes as they did pre-pandemic. And I think people's shopping, I think we're probably we won't see this in solid numbers for probably a couple more years. But I think people, after the pandemic, and they sort of started thinking about life, Elizabeth, their values changed a little bit, and that's going to be reflected in how they spend their dollars. And of course, once it was all over with, people just wanted to go and get out and do this, that, and the other. So you're still seeing, for the most part, like restaurants, people are going out to eat more. The only time restaurants, but also a lot of people are still working from home. So even though people are piling in on maybe a weekend or middle of the week, like on Mondays and Fridays, when there's like people still staying home from work, like in cities, you're going to see, they're not going out to eat on Mondays and Fridays. So those days have turned out to be more lighter days for those businesses where maybe Tuesday and Wednesday used to be.
Right.
So people are thinking when and how they spend money. And we'll probably see some more solid information in a couple of years when companies compile all the data to see what kind of trend came out. And, if that trend stays, or I don't think it'll revert back to what it was before. Because once the trend sets in, it stays in.
So you made a really interesting point, and it's almost like we need to look at a different set of statistics of what is the quantity of what you sold versus what is the number value of how much you sold, because of the inflated prices, that their quantity may actually be down, but the company has decent, monies to record.
Yeah, and that's what we see when you go read a business article about some company reported earnings. You don't get the whole story behind. Whereas if you went and listened to the conference call, and they may have like 10 analysts that are registered to ask questions, and do they ask those questions, and do those come out in the conference call and in the notes? And you really won't know unless you take the time to go read those notes. But it's depends on how much you invest. Like, I don't read a lot of those notes because I don't invest a lot in retail. I see a unique value somewhere in that. So that's, which is something maybe over the holiday, I'll maybe look into some of that and see if I can't find some sort of numbers or some sort of statement from a company CEO or a marketer that might give us some indication of it.
So I was going to ask you, as far as investing, who to watch, maybe who to talk to your financial advisor about, buying some of this or buying some of that. But we're coming up to the end of the year. And we had talked in the green room for a moment that you have some great tips for housekeeping financially for end of year.
Yeah, and we started talking. We kind of hit that theme on the last show, but there's so many things that are out there that people can try to remember. So this is going to be a little bit more detailed of some end of year things that you might want to consider doing. So if you're watching and you have some questions, like if you have if you want to take some notes on some of the stuff that I'll sort of point out, and if you want to chat about it later, you're welcome to email me and we can maybe get together if you have any specific questions or anything. But yeah, this at the end of the year, there's so many things that go on. I know everything kind of slows down, but there's certain things people need to focus on. One is if you haven't made your IRA contributions, we're here at the end of the year. I know you have up until April 15th of the next year to make the prior year contribution, but do it while you remember it. Do it as soon as you can. Get money to work. The sooner you get money to work, the better, generally. So keep that in mind. And also, it's the end of the year. If you're 73 years old, you have to take those required minimum distributions. And so keep that in mind, that you make sure you do that by the end of the year. If you don't know how much you need to take, you can contact your brokerage company. If you self-manage through a brokerage company like a Vanguard or Fidelity or whoever, and they should have retirement specialists there that can help you calculate that. But you can also go to your accountant, and because your accountant should have a bigger picture of what your portfolio is, since they do your taxes, they would be able to maybe give you a little more guidance on which accounts to take from and not take from, as long as you hit those minimums. If you don't need your required minimum distributions to pay your living expenses, there's a couple of options you can do. So just kind of keep this in mind. If you're 70 and a half or older, you can donate all or a portion of your required minimum distribution directly to charity via this thing called qualified charitable distributions, QCDs. So if you call up your retirement specialist at your brokerage firm, or you call your advisor and like bring this up, but you're limited to $100,000 maximum annually per taxpayer. So this is if you don't need your money and you want to give it to charity, you can certainly do that. So keep that in mind. If you're looking to add into money to a taxable account, your non-retirement money, this is December. Do not buy mutual funds. Usually once October gets here, I tell people don't buy mutual funds. The reason is, if you're buying it in a taxable account, mutual fund managers generally pay out their capital gains and distributions in December. Well, if you've held a mutual fund for a month, do you really want to get hit with a tax bill when you haven't had the benefit of owning that all year? So, I can understand buying it earlier. Now, if you're in a retirement account, it's not an issue. You can buy. But just keep in mind, if you're in a taxable account, be wary about adding money to a mutual fund anytime after October. Like we mentioned last time, it's a good time to rebalance your portfolio. Take a look and see what's worked this year, what's done well, what hasn't worked, and get yourself back in balance that according to your plan. So if you wanted 70% in stocks and 30% in bonds, well, if the market, for example, grew wildly and you were 80% in stocks and 20% in bonds, well, you're a little out of balance. So let's reallocate some of that back to the bond market and kind of keep our fixed income and kind of keep that balance. So it's a good time at the end of the year to do that. So here's another mistake that a lot of people make, like going into the end of the year and going into the first of the year. Do you know how when you jump online and you see this article, it's really enticing. It's clickbait, Elizabeth. Top 5 mutual funds of 2023. And you're like, dang, this guy really outperformed, or this lady really managed the hell out of her money and did a great job with this fund. I want to get into that. Well, ever since I've been in the business, and probably long since before, if you give me the top 5 mutual funds in one hand and said, all right, throw them on the table and compare them to the top 5 in 2024, right? So top 5 for this year, top 5 for next year, those funds will not be the same. They seldom ever are. You might have one in there sometimes that's the same as it was the year before. So I tell clients all the time, something may look great. This may be the next hot thing, but by the time the secret's out, the party's over. Like when something looks great and everybody's jumping into it, you didn't get in on the basement. You didn't get on the first floor,
Wow.
second floor, or third floor. It's probably running all the way up, and don't chase performance is what I'm trying to say. Stay away from the hot strategy. Every year, like I said, there's always some investment or portfolio manager that just kicked ass, right? But unfortunately, it's impossible to know beforehand which strategy or manager that's going to be the next year.
Mm-hmm.
If we knew, we'd all be making money, right? But this won't stop aggressive salespeople from trying to talk you into doing these things. Like, this did great last year, let's do this. You got to stop chasing performance and go back to focusing on your overall strategy. And I always try to emphasize to my clients or anybody I'm talking to about investing that the market runs in cycles. And one year's lucky winners are not oftentimes, losers in the following year. So the key is to stick to proper asset allocation. Sometimes that looks like just plain vanilla investments, nothing sexy, but they work. And that'll help you get to your goals. Chasing past performance never works in the long term. So if you're thinking about doing that, one of the things to consider doing, and we've talked about this before, Elizabeth, is putting together what's called an investment policy statement,
Mm-hmm.
where you list out what to expect, whether it's a balanced strategy you're looking for, an aggressive growth strategy. What does that mean? What kind of investments that entails? And so you can kind of look at that and sort of have a roadmap. And if somebody tries to pitch you something that's outside of that roadmap, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but a flag should go up. Okay, does this fit my strategy? And if so, if I'm not sure, let's call my advisor and talk a little bit about it. Is this something that could fit? Maybe it does, but maybe it doesn't. So if that happens to anybody out there, like I said, call your advisor. Or if you don't have one, you're welcome to call me. It doesn't cost a dime to have a conversation, but it can cost you a whole heck of a lot of money if you don't have one. Right. So just keep that in mind. So that's just a couple of things you could do. And if you're kind of one of the people that manages your own money, set up your own investment policy statement and do that with the family and, or your spouse, if you're planning together, and then make sure you kind of stay on track. End of year is always a good time to look at it and say, hey, are we in balance? Are we chasing hot funds? Are we trying to chase the return? And am I still in my strategy? Mm-hmm. And does that strategy? And sometimes it's a 15, 20-minute conversation with your advisor, and you're done for the year. Sometimes it's maybe a little bit more complex if you want somebody to review your portfolio again, or your 401k or 403b or whatever. But it's worth taking the time. Like I said, a few minutes today can save you a lot of money tomorrow.
Absolutely. I pulled up the website here, and this is Vistafront Partners, your website. So you have a page here on investment planning. Is that a good spot to go to try to create the statement, or generally you want to do that with your financial advisor to create the statement?
Generally, you want to do that with your financial advisor. That page on our website is just kind of just an FYI for your information. Some of the things that you need to consider, and those are some of the things that when you have a more in-depth discussion that you should be thinking about or talking about. And sometimes your strategy and goals are cut and dry, and other times maybe they're not. They're a little bit more complex. So that's, but that's a good starting point as to take a look at that page.
There's a lot of information on here. So the contact us, if someone was to go to www.vistafrontpartners.com, those messages will come to you and your partner?
Right. Yeah. Those are contact us. Just type in, just your name, address, and just say, hey, I want to talk about retirement investing, or, I have an issue with looking for dividends, or whatever your issue is. Just a few words and just say, give me a call and leave your contact info, and we'll touch base with you. Or if you'd rather get an email first and set up a Zoom call, we can do that.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for letting me show off the website a little bit. It's a great, very functional website. We do have a question here, and this this is a throwback a little bit to what we were talking about just a moment ago in the market and investing. So Ken Dodge says, I was told that AI was a huge opportunity investment-wise, but I see it as a double-edged sword. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and it is a double-edged sword. I have been thinking a lot about AI lately. I haven't put any of my clients or referred anybody to any particular company to invest in specifically for AI, but there's so many companies that are getting their feet wet right now. One of the most popular ones you probably heard about over the course of the summer was NVIDIA. And that company ran up, I don't even know what the price is right now, $400 and something a share for one share. So it really ran up a lot. It was up huge this year. But before you buy something just because it's got momentum, with these AI companies, I think it's very important that people kind of take a step back and evaluate what it is that company does, what the goals are with that technology, and are people jumping in and piling on, not fully understanding the return that that company is going to actually be able to provide.
Mm-hmm.
So when I see something running up that fast, I will take about 10 steps back, Ken, because I'm not touching that with my money, much less yours. So, and then until I learn more and educate myself more on that, there's a lot of companies that are dealing with AI right now, and you're probably well aware of a bunch of them: Microsoft, Amazon, just to name a couple, Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these companies are jumping in there, but it is a double-edged sword how far the technology can go. My biggest fear, Ken, is it's going to get to the point where companies will utilize so much AI that they don't need workers. I mean, there are some workers you're always going to need, plumbers, electricians. You're not going to have a robot roll out to your house and fix your car, But with a lot of white collar jobs, they do need to be careful, because what are you going to do when you displace 15% of the workforce, much less 50?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a scary proposition. Will people make money in it? Oh, no doubt. But a lot of people they get hung up in trends like this, the whole solar thing, and you've seen so many solar companies lose money after people piled money into those companies, so yeah, Ken, I would be a little nervous about anyone like putting anybody's money in something like that until I'd want to see where it shakes out in the next 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean people might miss some opportunity? Maybe it does. But I don't want to invest by throwing a dart at a dartboard and putting money wherever it lands.
Absolutely. It really is. I saw, which I'm sure millions upon millions of people have seen, the interview with Elon Musk, where he's saying, I think we released an uncontrollable monster here that definitely does need regulations. And of course, he, from my understanding, didn't he have a hand in with I don't even know, the programming, the software, whatever it takes to create AI? Wasn't he a part of that at one point?
I think he was probably one of the leaders in the
Right.
technology, because this guy is just wicked smart, right? So not just Tesla, but SpaceX, now X, which was Twitter. He's got his hand in so many other things with technology and advanced technology, especially with military applications that the government and the Pentagon, are use him for, and NASA. But I think maybe he got to a point where he saw what, and the question you have to ask is not so much do you trust the technology, but do you trust the people trying to push it? And he made a very good point this past week when he was talking about people that were pulling their ads from Twitter or X.
Mm-hmm.
And he had that famous GFY, to Bob Iger of Disney, by the way, and he's going to be in Media Matters and all that, about trying to blackmail him with money, like trying to paint him up for something he's not, and get people to leave, not advertise with him.
Mm-hmm.
But he also brought up the fact that he was tired of seeing people talk about doing such good things for the world when in fact with what they're doing is evil.
Mm.
Suddenly, not just talking about the freedom of speech and people targeting him to try to run X out of business by pulling all the advertisers, but they got into the AI discussion as well during that summit with I think Andrew Sorkin of Wall Street Journal, and CNBC was the guy who did that and put that on. But yeah, that just really kind of was a bit of an eye opener to some degree when he said that statement. And I'm like, there's so much bad stuff you can do with AI. It kind of reminds, just kind of off in the weeds, when you think about the internet first started getting big.
Yeah.
In the early 90s. And the internet could be used for so many great things, great information, adequate sources of information, teaching, learning tools. But what did we do with it? The first few years of the internet, what was the biggest industry on the internet?
Oh,
pornography.
Porn. Totally.
Yeah, porn. So, when any kind of technology comes like that, I'm not saying porn would be part of it, but like, it's always something that's not to the best use of.
Mm-hmm.
It's more toward I don't know, like who Dr. Evil, like that. So that's kind of my thinking on AI and just, where this can go. And it does make me nervous. Yeah, Ken, that's a really good question. And man, that's gonna be a question everybody's going to ask over and over for the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. And I'm noticing something in the jobs market and seeing that there seems to be one main takeaway from looking at the jobs market all year long and seeing what our recruiters on the network that I co-own and what they're doing and how things are placing. And it definitely looks like we are, and I don't want to be doom and gloom, right? I'd rather have great news, but it definitely looks like we're going to have first quarter massive layoffs of the middle management sector. And we are still having college kids coming out of college, very little experience, and their overall salary, their base salaries, it's not rising. So there's going to be a conundrum there to where, 3 years ago they were making great money, but now they're making okay money living with mom and dad because they can't afford housing, which has gone through the roof. So it really seems like AI and the jobs market may meet up next year. And I think that we might see more implementation than what we would like to see. And I do agree with you. I think, from what you said earlier, where AI can replace a lot of people and a lot of jobs, I think middle management is in for a rude awakening with it. However, I've got to ask the question because I'm just so darn curious. Do you think it could ever take over the banking and finance industry?
Yeah. I mean, you already see like those robo advisors, right, to some degree.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think some of this will probably run a lot of people like me out of business down the road. I mean, will there be those big companies there where you need to have analysts and advisors at places? Yeah, you'll need people that will still talk to clients, but it is certainly a threat because the more people that look to go that route in the interest of saving a buck, or look at it this way, mutual fund managers. I mean, a lot of the trades that you see on Wall Street are like algorithms. They have like, it's all computer generated. If a stock hits a certain thing, then it kicks in, the algorithm kicks in, they sell, and you can cause that's when you get those flash crashes. That's not people that are sitting there. People have more sense than to let that happen. But when you have those automated trading systems and there's not enough smart people sitting there like, okay, pump the brakes. There's not a problem with this. They'll sit around, and the smart people now can't stop it. They sit around and wait till it's run out of steam, and then they buy low.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody likes to see those things. It's very disruptive.
Mm-hmm.
So, are they going to get to the point where like, hey, Mr. Fund Manager, we don't need you. We're going to replace you with AI. And there you don't have to pay that person or their analyst because the AI can figure this stuff out just running the numbers and the probabilities in about half a second. Is it going to get to that? Maybe it's a possibility.
Wow.
Um, but how many? But AI has the potential of eliminating almost anybody's job, really, unless you're a blue collar worker.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about it, and it's and speaking of layoffs next year, I was already having a discussion with somebody I know earlier, and I'm not going to name any company or anything like that, but this particular chain is already cutting like their certain level of management salary down to
Mm-hmm.
a certain level, even though some people are making twice that, and saying they can make it up with bonuses. They'll make it up with bonuses, but your bonus money is taxed at almost 50%, 48% or something like that, state and federal. So really, there's some people that are that's a way of getting people on the higher end to quit.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to pay them their I guess benefits if you fire them. That you have to pay into that. So unemployment. But that's you see that happening because they're going to end up hiring people back next year, later in the year, at half the salary if they're offering people that have been there a long time that know what they're doing.
Right.
So you're that happen in like certain sectors, and this is in the service sector. I'll not private conversation. I'm not going to mention any of that stuff, who or what, but it was that was kind of eye opening today that a nationwide call happened with certain levels of management at a place that, and I was told that most of those managers, they closed the video. They muted everybody so they couldn't talk or ask questions. And most of the managers and people that were sitting there closed the video so you couldn't see their face. And if that doesn't tell that something, I don't know what does.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a lot of people looking for a job somewhere else because you can't get by on half what you're making.
Right. Right.
This day, do this at Christmas. I thought was like classless. Do this next year. Wait till after January.
Yeah, absolutely. That's always a hard thing to see. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's always hard this time of year. I mean, absolutely, because people, they're trying to straddle their housing costs with their heating costs, with the food. And it's just amazing how fast inflation happened for all of us. and just, 2-3 years ago, I mean, it was exponentially less everywhere. And
yeah. Paid like $1.79 for gas here.
That's it?
That was the low point. Yeah.
Not today.
Not today. No, not today. But like, before and this is not to get political or anything, but like, when you start attacking your own, your energy industry, energy sector, it's not helpful.
It's not helpful.
Yeah, is $1.79 I was paying before things started escalating with gas prices.
Well, and what about, I mean, again, I don't want to get political, but we kind of have to, because there's so many, in my opinion, outrageous things going on. But Kamala Harris was just in Dubai talking about, we're going to close down all of the coal mines and we won't be mining for coal. We won't be using coal. I'm sorry. Does she not understand that the people that do that mine for coal are in West Virginia, they're in Virginia, they're in that section of the United States that is one of the poorest areas of the United States, and they actually make decent money by risking their own health to go down there and mine for coal.
Yeah, I'm son of a coal miner, it's and it is sad. I mean, there are a lot of mines in Pennsylvania. Now you have some in Wyoming and the Dakotas, and there's some in different places. But like any of the coal that you need to make steel is right here from where I'm from.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of, so you try to shut that down. I was driving when I go to my office in Frankfurt. I drive through this little county in Virginia before I get into the Kentucky border, and there's a coal-fired plant. It's Dominion. And I remember this was being built when Obama was running for office and telling everybody that you can build one, but we're going to bankrupt you. We're going to run you out of business. Well, they built it anyway, and it's still running today. I can pull off the side of the road on the 4-lane and take a picture of this coal-fired plant for you. You do not see smoke emissions going anywhere. It's all captured. And, I would rather do that coal here and ship it abroad because we do it cleaner and better. But a lot of people don't realize this, but most of the coal-fired plants are vast majority is used in China and India. They have a lot. It's the third of the world's population right there combined. India last year, and I just read this earlier today. It's ironic we bring this up, that India last year had 73% of their energy came from coal.
Wow.
Last year. This year it was 80%. So it's growing. China's went up as well, and it's also very high, like 70% or something. So when you talk about global warming and all this has to shut down, my question to John Kerry and Kamala Harris is, okay, if we're all going to die because of this, you better start bombing China and India right now, because they're not going to stop. And they are over 70% of the world's coal burning right now.
Yeah.
We're diversified here in this country, and you can go anywhere in the world. We're still the cleanest with emissions anywhere. But we act, and our politicians act as if we're the worst place on the planet. And the sad thing is, I see kids that come out of school, like my younger nieces and nephews that I've seen grow up, that just like sort of demonize the place, like, well, we should be doing this. Like, if they don't understand what's going on in the rest of the world, that we are the leader, basically, in clean environmental energy at all levels. You can't just do wind and solar,
right?
Because you wouldn't be able to heat one city. It's just if it would work by now, and it's just not going to.
Right. I do think that there is a huge value for our young people, especially in that age, the high school to college age. They're still very impressionable. And if they were to get out of the United States and into, maybe a school abroad, work abroad, something to where you have to live in another country, you get sick in another country, you have to buy your groceries and feed yourself in another country, you will 110% of the time come back grateful for what we have here and what our systems are. And it will finally click to people as to why there are so many people coming across our border to try to start a life for the ones that are actually here to try to start a life for themselves in this country. We have an amazing system that needs our young people's support and faith. And I agree with you. I agree here with Greg. He's saying that it's not an accident. The decision in the favor of other countries is what our lawmakers have been deciding for us. And it's really heartbreaking to those of us who understand what this country stands for and understand what it's like to be in another country. And God forbid you get sick there and you have to go through the healthcare to realize, oh, wait a minute, our system's not even going to respond to their antibiotics because we have way better, way superior drugs in this country, superior medical care. I mean, I could soapbox totally. I could go on and on. But I think, my nephew, he is in his sophomore year at Washington and Lee, and he's there on a free ride. He's a really smart kid. And he is going to go live in Germany next semester, I believe. And I'm like, good, go. I mean, I think there's other places he could go to, but Germany is fine. Just go and live somewhere else because you're going to come back with a newfound respect for what you have. Yeah.
Like the last show we were talking about, hey, we were born in America. We hit the lottery day one. So I'm not going to. Yeah. So when people talk about a lot of fear and like anxiety about investing and things like that, I don't want to get all patriotic about it, but it's not the American spirit. We're drivers, we're innovators, we look forward to the future and we're brave.
Yeah.
But mention that it's a smart thing to do anyway. But that lay that anxiety aside, and this is a great place. For all the issues and problems we have, I always like to keep in mind what Reagan said when I was a kid. Our best days are ahead of us. And if we always think that way and live with that optimism and hope, then it will be. Sometimes you go through bad times, but Bad times make tough people.
Yeah.
Tough me good times. That whole cycle, that whole saying. So, but yeah, but it's true.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'm glad that you brought that up. Our best days are ahead of us. Absolutely. And that's something else I'm noticing with the younger generation as I raise them. Um, I would love a little bit more mindfulness to be spoken to most of the children that are school age children, because you can really you can boil down depression and anxiety. And depression is being stuck in the past. Anxiety is worrying about the future. And if you can
Nope.
just stay present, and with the belief of what you said, Ronald Reagan's quote, our best days are ahead of us. Boy, that puts you in a better spirit, doesn't it?
Does. And you're right. We need to be present in the here and now. Because if we're not present in the here and now, how are you building a future?
Right.
You're always going to be full of anxiety about it. But why have anxiety when you can do something? The best way to predict the future is to create it right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And trust in that. And, we're a great country, and we've seen some bad times. And, yeah, we've seen some worse times too. But we're going to see a lot better. And I just like to, I believe in that. Hey, real quick, I want to, end of the year, the biggest issue that comes up at the end of the year is people dealing with their taxes. They got to do their taxes next year, and anything they do, they have to impact their taxes, they have to do before the end of the month. So there's a thing called tax loss harvesting, and if you've been in real estate, you do know that if you have a capital gain in anything, you can offset the taxes of that capital gain with a tax loss. So sometimes people at the end of the year will take a look at their investments. Are there certain investments that have been like a dog this year that I really don't want to be a part of my strategy going forward? Like, if it's part of your strategy, have that discussion if you want to add to it. Okay. But if it's something that, okay, I'm going to get this out of my strategy, let's work this out. Let's go ahead and sell these now and take a loss and offset my gains to keep your taxes lower. That is a big deal that people need to, every year since I got in this business, right about Thanksgiving, I start hearing people calling up like, yeah, I made a bunch of money in this stock I sold earlier, but this one's just not working for me, and let's cut my gains down. Let's, sell some things for a loss. And that's something that you can certainly do. So really all this is just, I guess I wrote this down as like a general definition. If anybody wants to look it up, tax loss harvesting is the process of selling securities at a loss to offset a capital gains tax liability. So when you go over your portfolio, if there's opportunities to generate losses to offset gains, certainly do it if you need to, if taxes are an issue for you. So definitely keep that in mind. So another thing that you could do to keep your taxes a little lower this year, charitable giving. I know a lot of people don't think about that, but here at the end of the year, there are a lot of nonprofits that could use charitable giving, right? So it's not just writing a check. So that's kind of the narrow view of charitable giving. I'm giving like $100 to St. Jude's or whatever. No, you don't have to stop there. If you have a stock that you think that you've had for a long time, you've had a lot of it, right? It's gained and gained and gained over the years. And you've held something that's like, let's say you bought Microsoft back in 2000 and you still have it today. And you're like, I haven't sold that. And do you know how much of a capital gains tax I'm going to pay on this? That's going to kick me right in the bum, right? So if you want, you can take these big winners that you don't want to pay gains on. You still maybe want Microsoft in your portfolio, but you think, hey, this company over here, there's this nonprofit is something I really want to make a donation to. I'm going to donate stock in kind to them. And you can donate some of the highest capital gains shares to them. Clear that off your books.
Wow.
That is something you can certainly do to do that. So keep that in mind. You can donate securities to your nonprofits, you want to call that nonprofit first and ask them if they accept those. Most of your bigger national ones will. Some of your smaller ones, like your animal shelters, things like that, they may not, but certainly the bigger ones would be able to do something like that. So review that with your accountant and with your investment advisor about which shares might work best to donate. Because you could have, say, 1,000 shares of Microsoft, for example, but you want to donate the ones you bought back in 2000, not the ones you bought in 2015. So you can actually go back and look at that tax lot that you bought, that lot of shares, and donate those.
So capital gains, what is the current percentage that someone could say, all right, I sold my house for 400,000. I can expect my capital gains are going to be what, 15% of what they made?
I think capital gains taxes were capped at, I think it was at 50. It might have been 15. I'll have to go back and look that up because I actually had that written down for one of our older shows that I talked about it.
Okay.
But I think it changed under the Trump administration when they passed the Secure Act back in 2019. I think that's when the capital gains tax changed. They lowered it, and it was like a flat amount up to a certain amount. But you can only go up to a certain amount of capital gains to write off.
Okay.
But it's a huge amount, so it's not like the average Joe has to worry about it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, if you're Warren Buffett, you worry about it.
Right.
Yeah, so I can look that up and get back with you on that.
Okay. And just for people that are watching, first time home sellers, buyers, what have you, capital gains. So that is going to be the profit that you made off of your sale. So if you sold your house for $1 million, your profit is 400,000, you will be taxed on the 400,000, correct? Okay.
Right. Unless you have some offsetting gains or losses, or the charitable giving, But if you're buying $1 million houses and you make shares, that'd be nice, But I don't know. It depends on where the property is. You can buy a small house in LA, right, for 1.5 and barely fit 3 people in it. I guess it's all right.
An apartment for 1.5 to 2 in LA.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. Well, before I let you go tonight, I have a game that was given to me. We opened it in the green room. It's called Hot Seat. And you can find this, of course, on Amazon. You can find it hotseatgame.com. Hot Seat. Has anybody played Hot Seat? What we did in the green room was we picked 3 cards. And you know what the 3 cards say. I know what the 3 cards say. So the first one, can I give you the first one?
Yeah, and I want the people watching to answer too. Leave it in the comments. I'd love to hear what some of these folks say.
Totally. Okay, so you're in the hot seat, and your question is, what is something I wouldn't do for $1 million? So you at home, go ahead, answer, type it in, and then we're going to have to figure who goes first because we'll both answer it. What is something
For $1 million,
I wouldn't do?
I've seen that movie, The Birds, way too many times. So if I look outside and I see a bunch of crows on the line, I'm not going out there trying to feed them bread. Not for $1 million. I've seen how that ends. I see what crows do to that woman in The Omen. Ooh, no, thank you. For $1 million, I wouldn't hurt animals. I wouldn't do that.
Okay. So what wouldn't you do for $1 million? So there's a couple of things that came into my mind. Now, have you seen, and I'm trying to remember which building, I think it's on the Empire State Building. Do you remember this iconic picture from the steel workers? And they're all on a steel beam that's suspended. Okay.
Yes.
That is now a ride in Manhattan. Is that the Empire State Building that was taken from?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's on the Empire State Building, and I'll have to find the picture. It's a ride. So you're sitting on a steel beam, they strap you in, and it's a whole row of people, and then all of a sudden the thing rises, and it twists and turns. You have an amazing view of Manhattan. But I don't think I would do that. And the other thing that I wouldn't do, not even for $1 million, in Indiana Jones, the first one, the snake pit. You remember the snake pit?
Yeah.
I'm out.
No. No. Yeah. But yeah, that first one. I remember those old black and white photos of guys that were setting out on the steel beams having lunch in the 1920s when they were building this. No way. Not for $1 million would you catch me out there doing anything like that.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I'll have to send you the video of it. I wish I had it queued up. I had no idea that was going to come out of my brain, but no. You know, I thought I was a badass once at Christmas time, and we had a low-hanging roof. I mean, it was 1 story. So how high could I have been? 12 feet maybe. And I'm like, oh, I can get on that little roof and, hook up the lights across the ridge line of the roof for Christmas. And I got up on that roof and froze. And I was told, we'll just come back down the ladder. And I'm like, no, I can't. Frozen. I realized I had a fear of heights then. That's probably not a good time to realize that.
Well, I've got a fear of heights. Yeah, I couldn't do the thing with on the steel beams. I mean, I'd rather take a drink and a pill from Bill Cosby. I'd trust that more than me getting up there. No way.
All right, what's the next one?
What about me sounds fake but is 100% true?
Ooh, what about me is fake but actually is 100% true? I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Like, you drew that card, and I'm like, what? I don't know what to say to that. Like, what about me sounds fake?
Sounds
But
fake.
100% true. Huh.
I know, that's a tough one.
No one would this. Not me at this age, but like, I used to have kamikaze workouts in my 20s. I would literally play 2 hours of tennis out in the sun before I would run probably about 3 miles. And part of that was a set of steps that I would do twice. And the steps were like 180 steps to the top of a hill before I would go to the gym with my friends and start working out in the gym.
But see, I can believe that. I can believe, like, there was nothing in my brain going, bullshit. I can believe that. Huh. See, I've overshared, I think, because I could say, well, I grew up with chickens, but everybody knows that. What sounds fake but is actually true? I took chess lessons as a kid, and I was a tomboy.
Oh, all right then. Boy, really?
Tomboy, yep. And I beat all the nerdy boys at chess. I love chess club.
Huh. And I get my ass checkers every time I play. I don't know if I could even play chess.
Yeah, I loved it. But
Hey, I played trumpet in the band when I was a kid. Not all the way.
Not all
like
the way.
for a couple.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. That's a tough one. What is something about me that sounds fake but is actually 100% true? Yeah.
That's something like an X. To get an honest answer. Like, but I don't know if I want that answer.
I mean, it's like, what are you going to say? My ex-wife was a dominatrix? Okay. All right. You got me there.
Yeah. Wow. All right.
All right. So the last one, and this one, I have a blank brain on. I do not know what this means. What does the acronym HOT, right? If it wasn't an acronym, it would spell hot. HOT. What does it stand for? What does the acronym HOT stand for? And go.
Well, I thought hummus on toast. But I've never had hummus, so I don't know. The other thing I thought of is like, first thing I thought of was like, what would the Secret Service's nickname be for Trump? And I thought Harry Orange thing. Hot. They could call him Hot wherever he went, and he would never know.
I think we should do a battle. I think soon as I say something, you have to say something. All right.
Okay.
Okay. High odd thing.
Hi, odd thing.
You gotta come back. You gotta come back quicker.
Humans on Tang.
Horny old toad.
Horny old toad. Sorry, that was good. I just thought of something that was completely X-rated. I'm not saying that one.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Hairy old turd. I don't know. I'll say that.
Her odd tit.
You're beating my pants off with this one. Her odd tit. Hold on tight.
How others think.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. You had me there with the her other tit. Her other tit. Her odd tit.
You can say her other tit. That works. That's different.
Humanity out of time.
House over there.
House of Thongs. Like
Wow.
underwear.
Whores on testosterone.
Well, in this day and age, when you look at a picture, him or they.
Okay, what does it actually mean? Do you know?
No.
I have to type this in. What does hot acronym? ACR. Come on, Elizabeth, you can spell. Okay, what does it mean? Here it is. Hot. The acronym. Heads of terms?
Head of table.
Heads of terms. HOTs. Well, that's boring. I like
Yeah,
tit is better.
head of table.
House of trust. House of trust. Wow. Wow. Well, that's kind of fun. We should do that again.
Yeah.
All right. But you have a story to tell. I think what you were talking to me about with odd shopping experiences.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I go out to find some Christmas cards a little while back, a couple of weeks ago. And you see anything at Walmart. Like if you get bored at Walmart, just go in and sit down on the bench in the front, and count mullets. If you're just bored, it's like counting sheep for like people that don't want to take a nap. But go count mullets at Walmart. But I'm in Walmart and I'm walking in the front, like toward the aisle to check out, and this dude's walking in front of me. I can tell it's a dude by the way he's walking. Cowboy boots, skirt. No joke. Guy walking with a skirt and like this effeminate shirt, like a halter top or something. Long, stringy blonde hair. Looks like he had washed it, since he moved into the trailer park. Not sure. Turns around, full beard. I'm like, dude, you really dressed up like a woman and like you have a beard. At that point, I'm like, all right, listen, you really need to make up your mind. Like, I don't even know if there's a pronoun that fits that. So anyway, yeah, odd shopping experiences. I've seen some things. I get angry in the Walmart parking lot just watching people try to like drive.
Mm-hmm.
They have the arrows on the parking lot,
Mm-hmm.
and then people can't even read the directions in the parking lot of which way to drive. I mean, you should be able to look at the cars and see which way they're pointed as they parked. I'm like, oh, I drive down that aisle. Easy to spot. But they even go the extra distance to paint the arrow for you.
Uh-huh.
And people still cannot do that. And I've seen in the last year probably 3 wrecks, head-on collisions going down aisles. Like, are you like, dude? If you cannot, how did you get the driver's license to begin with? I don't understand this.
Yeah, I mean, it's really not that hard. Look at, most of society has driver's licenses, but I want to go back to the shim. I'm not sure what, because he had both going on, right? He was proud of both the sides happening there. There are men, however, and I've seen this a lot with my drag queen friends from Key West, that for some reason, I don't know why they think they can fondle decent looking women in the audience, but they do. And it's all in good fun. But they've got some great legs. Have you ever been fooled before? Where, I mean, you're a straight man. That's why I say fooled. I'm not trying to be mean or anything to men that are women. I don't even know what to say. What do I say? But men can shave their legs, and you guys have nice legs.
Unless somebody like showing their kneecaps, or like the Adam's apple shows. I've seen a couple of guys I later found out that were guys that were dressed up like women that I didn't know. But like some of them are like obvious. Like the guy on Jeopardy, or the lady on Jeopardy. I guess it's a guy, but it's a her. And then I think they had to use the pronoun they later on. But the one that kept winning and winning and winning on Jeopardy, that person, I can't remember the name, but like, first night I was like, okay, I'm not fooled, right? But yeah, I've seen a couple that kind of had fooled. I remember one time when I was a kid, I was in middle school, and the homeroom teacher would let us bring in a cassette to listen to. That's how old I am, right? And he would let us play it. He was a rock and roll fan anyway, from the 70s. But I brought in Poison's first album. Do you remember Poison?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And they had the pictures, like the 4 pictures of their faces. And I remember him at the front of the room. Yeah, put that in. He looked at it and he goes, it's a bunch of good looking chicks. I'm like, wow.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
At that point, I started questioning my own taste in music that morning. I'm like, really? Oh, man. Hair metal. They're kind of, aren't they allowed? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pulling up a picture right now. Really? I mean, they were still manly. I mean, let me get these pictures up here. But yeah, glam rock. Man, they brought the glam.
And I know as Steven Tyler gets older for Aerosmith, I've seen those pictures of him with like those flamboyant shirts where he kind of looks like somebody's older aunt. And I'm like, yeah, he kind of does have that effeminate look about him, but like, you're not fooled.
Right. But I mean, look, I don't think I can blow up the picture. They don't look like women. I think your teacher may have been a little visually impaired.
They're busted.
Wow. Well, this has been so fun. Thank you for hanging out with me this evening.
Yeah, it's been fun. Yeah, so hopefully some folks got a thing or two out of this. And anyway, you're always welcome to contact me through the website if you have any questions or I can be of any help. So thanks again, everybody, for tuning in and listening to us drone on about some fun things too.
That's right.
It's always fun. And we're going to have a new look Gonzo Chronicles probably in the new year. So I'm hoping you'll be my first guest. And it will stream live on YouTube and Rumble.
Oh, all right. Tell me a little bit about that before we say goodnight. So next year, Gonzo Chronicles, it's going to have new look, new places to listen, watch, right?
Yeah, so you can actually watch the show instead of listening to it on your podcast. So it will have like a cool new intro, some music, kind of like your show has a cool intro, but people will stream live, and we can interact live with people on Rumble and YouTube. There's a guy who's a producer of it that kind of sits in the background. If we need to bring up any slides or clips of movies off YouTube or whatever, we can do that and chat and about whatever the topic of the show is, whether it's something weird, an unsolved mystery, or dirty limericks again. I don't know. We don't know where it's going, but it's going to go somewhere weird.
I can do dirty limericks again. That was fun. Now, I had consumed a bottle of wine first, but it was fun.
I'm sorry your mom heard that.
And they were so precious when they called me, Elizabeth, you know, your father and I, we watch everything you do. And your father was so excited because you were doing something on St. Patrick's Day and it was limericks. You know, you should really be careful what you say. I'm like, maybe you shouldn't watch everything, Mom.
That was so funny. Yeah, you told me that. I blushed. I'm like, oh, wow, I'm sorry. Oh, man. But anyway, it was a great show. It was a fun show.
Well, congratulations on the Gonzo Chronicles. I can't wait to see it. And of course I'd be on. I'd be honored to be on.
Yeah, we'll do many more shows. So it's always fun.
You're
You're everybody's favorite guest when you come on. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
So I get that asked. Sometimes I'll have a guest. I'm like, hey, where's Elizabeth? Or I've had like a couple other people like, hey, when you have that person back on?
Oh, that's really nice. You've had some great guests on the Gonzo Chronicles.
That's some really interesting guests on there. The couple people from the Travel Channel and the History Channel, like Erica Lukes from UFO Classified, or what was she on? The Ancient Aliens show that's on his. Blackburn from I guess he was on the he does a lot of shows where we look for Bigfoot and things like that. Yeah, he had his own hot sauce, monster hot sauce we were talking about one night. So we've had a lot of really good guests on there. So it's been fun.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Well, congratulations. And let's do this again soon.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, JC. It's always wonderful to see you. Everybody watching, I've had the contact information scrolling at the bottom, but just one more time, how can they email you? What is your email address?
JC@vistafrontpartners.com.
That was perfect timing. Everybody would like to know how to spell it. It is scrolling at the bottom of the screen right now. All right. Well, have a great evening and thank you.
Hey, thank you. And have a great night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for watching. We are blessed. You are blessed. And good night. Mwah. I love you. And stay tuned for another great show.